Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone. It's a bi-weekly live stream all about amateur radio portable ops. My name is Charlie, and call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor. Well, today we're doing something a little different. It's not our normally scheduled event because Frank and I, we do an every other stream, and then on the fifth Sunday, we all get together and have a good time. So with me this evening are our show's four co-hosts, Dan, KC7MSU, and Brian, W7JET, and Frank, KG5AHJ.
What is going on, y'all? How's it up? How's it going?
I should have saved you for last. KJ5AHJ, right?
That's it. That's KG5HJ. How we all been?
Cool. We're all good. And then also Scott will be along shortly. He's KI5NPL, so we'll have him on a little bit. So also a warm welcome to all of you guys who are watching in the chat room. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat, and we'll be sure to respond to them. And don't forget, this show is converted to a podcast and is available through most podcast players about 24 hours after the show, both on my podcast page as well as over on Tank Radio.
Yep.
And finally, go ahead and support both Frank and I in our join feed or our join button there at the bottom. If you guys want to be a supporter of the channel, go ahead and do that. And so let's get caught up on what's been going on, guys, the last couple of weeks, and then we'll dive into our topics. For those of you who are watching, we all have a topic we're going to bring to the table and just kind of discuss a little bit. And so we'll dive into those in just a minute. But let's go ahead and start with myself. I'll just go ahead and start and talk about what I've been up to the last couple of weeks, and then we'll, I guess, pass the baton to Frank, then to Dan, then to Brian, and hopefully Scott will be along after that. So let's see. Yesterday, Sandy and I, we went up to the Prescott, Arizona area and did some summits on the air. It's kind of a little warm, but we went up and did Triddle and Mount Union and Spruce Mountain. Each of those were summer bonus points, so we earned 39 points, some soda points yesterday. So that was a good time. And then, it's just kind of been settling back into vacation, being away from vacation. Sandy and I, as you know, we went up to the Four Corners area. We went over to Nashville and did a few other things, but now we're kind of settled back down and trying to get back into the routine. And I've been remiss in getting videos out. I've been remiss in answering and responding to comments and questions in Facebook and all the other social media. So apologies there, but I'll dive into that probably this week and try to get everything taken care of.
I'm going to have to echo the same sentiments.
Yeah,
a couple of times myself, I've been on went ahead and went on a cruise, and then I had a friend in town, and I just kind of been relaxing. I had enough videos in the pipe to keep the channel going, but like you said, man, it's kind of hard sometimes to get back on that ball and get back in the groove.
Yeah, for sure. What have you been up to other than that?
Oh man, that's been it. That's been it.
A lot, right?
I need to get back into more radio stuff. I'll talk about my project, which I am going to start spearheading. The one bad part is Texas. It's 100 degrees outside, and everything I need to do now is either in the attic or outside.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah. Early morning. Are you an early morning person?
Yeah, once I wake up, yes. Once I wake up.
Okay. All right, Dan, what have you been up to?
Well, I have no videos in the pipeline, which is not unusual for me. So I guess that kind of checks the box. Haven't really gotten out to do much amateur radio lately. Been busy with several other things going on in life, but was able to do some chasing. So I tried to chase Brian the other day, but didn't hear him. But have been able to get a few chaser points in there as I haven't been able to make it out on a mountain. So maybe this coming up weekend I'll have to get out there, or maybe I'll have to go out and roast in the Arizona heat on Thursday, because I noticed there's several folks that are planning on a Thursday activation. So maybe I'll have to get up early and join that fun.
Yeah, cool. That'll be fun. I think I'm going to be on that one this coming Thursday. I'll be out doing mini morning madness, so hopefully we'll catch you. All right, Brian, what are you up to?
Let's see. What am I up to? Well, I've been very soda active. So a good friend of ours, Brad K9JDE, he's a part-time resident here in the Valley. And when he comes to town, we don't live too far apart from each other. We do a lot of soda together. So in the last week, I've done 6 summits with Brad. he's super excited because I think he's approaching the 300 mark for him, and he lives in the flatland normally, so he's pretty excited about that. We did a whole bunch of summits out in the Sierra Anca, and then we did a couple up in the Prescott area that actually Charlie went and did the same ones yesterday. Got chased off of the first summit by thunderstorms, and I think we got chased off of we did get chased off of Aztec by thunderstorms too. But all in all, it's been good. Really super active, and I mean hot. Definitely been a little warm this year. It's currently at the super station. It's 111 degrees right here.
The super
Weather station, according to the weather station outside here. So, been warm, but no, it's been good. Just working, flying, radio stuff. Fixed the doing maintenance on the antenna that never doesn't seem to want to die, which is the soda antenna that broke, and it's broken again, and I just keep soldering it back together. I think I have to fix the earphone jack now on the HB1B. That's starting to get a little intermittent. So that's pretty much
that
it,
H1 that H1B one or H1B whatever it is, H1B1 is it?
HB1B.
HB1B, man, that thing you've ridden that thing hard, man.
$250, and it's got thousands of QSOs, and it's been all over the world. It's lived in a suitcase, or if it's not in my backpack, it lives in a suitcase, and that thing has been to all 50 states. It's been there to every one of the states at least once.
Cool. And then Frank, have you been doing any POTA at all? I know you went on that cruise, and did you end up getting your license and anything like that? Oh, muted.
Audio, there we go. I looked into it before I went to the Bahamas, and in order to operate down there, you need to send in snail mail a request to operate within their country. The ARRL has an awesome article and links off to whatever agencies to go ahead and apply for a visiting license or information on that country's rules and regulations, and that was a very helpful resource. But unfortunately, the Bahamas, no, I couldn't get it done in the time before I jumped on the boat. I should have looked into it months beforehand, but
it takes a while. As you know, I went to the Bahamas on a cruise as well and applied. I think it was almost 2 months ahead of it, and still didn't get it. I got it. My license arrived the day after I left for the airport. So, and it was with a lot of prodding and poking in email after I'd sent the snail mail check and all that. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, and you got to leave a lot of time. So
yeah. So make sure if you're going to do that, start preparations and apply for that the day after you book your cruise, travel, or however you get there. Unfortunately, though, when we got there, it was the private island of the cruise company, so it was entrapment for more of your money.
Oh yeah, they do that, don't they?
Yep.
All right. Well, so guys, what we do is for this fifth Sunday, I think what we're going to try to do anyway. We'll see. Frank will have to figure it out as well, but when he takes it over. But we're alternating channels back and forth every fifth Sunday. Frank will take the next one the next fifth Sunday. So for this one, though, what we're going to do is I invited everybody to come to the channel to this stream with a topic in mind, and we'll discuss each of those topics, and I'll kick in, and we'll look at your comments as well and see to try to address those. And so, does anybody want to go first? Who's ready to go first? Anybody?
It's your stream, man. Kick it off.
All right. Well, okay, I'll go first. Why not, huh? All right. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about. Let me actually share my screen. And I have to thank Brian for this one, by the way. So we'll get over there to the entire screen and share. So here we are, the K1EL WK Mini. So Brian brought this to.
You just got a black screen right now.
A what? Just a black.
There
screen?
it is. There it is.
It took a while, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. So Brian brought this to Field Day this year and introduced me to it, and I'm like, wow. After we used it, I thought I need one of these. And so what it is it's a interface that you can use to connect pretty much any radio that has the ability to send Morse code with a straight key, and N1MM, your logging software, and you can also plug in a paddle into the same interface. And so, in essence, what you can do is you can use your logging software and your macros to send Morse code with replies or CQ or whatever. Or you can actually reach over and grab your paddle, because there's a keyer inside this interface, and you can send manually into any radio, and it just plugs right into the key port in any radio, and as long as you have it set to straight key, it works great. So you can also change the speed in N1mm as far as your speed that you're sending. And so the thing about this is I used it for the first time doing the I think it was the medium speed contest that they do on Monday nights, and I was not doing search and pounce. I was doing the just calling CQ, and I think I got I don't know, probably 20 or 30 contacts just to calling CQ, and it was really easy to use. Not only was it really easy to use, it was really easy to set up. The only thing you need to keep in mind for this WK Mini is that you have to make sure that you install the drivers before you plug it into the computer. If you have the drivers, and it's really easy to do that as well. You go to their website, and all the instructions are there on their website. You follow the instructions step by step. Basically, here's how you set it up. You go to you look at step 1. It says install the drivers. You download the drivers, you install them on your computer, and it's not anything other than click, 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 and you're done installing the drivers. After that, you plug it in, and then it takes you through a few little practice things that you don't have to do, but if you want just to familiarize yourself with it. Then you bring up N1mm and you connect N1mm with the WK Mini, which is about 2 or 3 clicks, and then you plug the other end into your radio. You're done. It's that simple. So I really like this because it's simple and it's very easy to use with in contesting, and so simple to use, simple to set up, and right now it's available. It was not available for a long time. They'd run out and sold out. So anyway, what else do you have to add to that, Brian, since you were the one that introduced me to it? Any other thoughts?
Well, there's a couple things about the WinKeyer. So what's good about it too is if you have a radio with a single port, you could still plug your key into it. You're just set to setting the speed in the WinKeyer using the WinKey software interface. So you have to set the speed on the keyer for whatever you want it at. You don't have the ability to jump it around. If you have another, if your radio has 2 ports, one for a straight key and one for a key or for a paddle key, then it's no big deal because you just run the paddle key off the radio and you can change the speed by hitting the buttons on the radio, like we were doing at field day with the with the 590, and we could adjust the speed up and down. I mean, it's a really great device. It's not terribly expensive. It's excellent for contesting. Yes, you can build one. There are ways to build it. The software that's in it is a an open source available program, so there are ways to build one using using Arduinos now and some external components to massage the audio and stuff, and the signal going in and out of it, or not the audio, but to massage the signal so it's happy for the radio. It doesn't cause interference, and you can find all kinds of stuff on the interwebs about it. But the bottom line is, depending upon what you have, you're probably 2/3 of the way to just buying this one. So unless you're into building, of course, then that's what it's more about. But I've been using that. I've had this device for 3 years now. It's been up to Heel Day twice, and it's been used at the house. We've used it at the Arizona QSO party. I use it every week when I'm doing the CWT and the MST. I don't use it for the when I participate in the slow speed test. I usually hand key that. And lately, if you've worked me during the slow speeds test and said, Brian, this sounds terrible at CW, what is he doing? That's because Brian is trying to get comfortable using a bug. And so far, the bug is winning. But now the keyer is great. It interfaces if you use HRD. It interfaces really well with HRD. It interfaces seamlessly with N1mm. There's a lot of really good features about it, and I believe, and I don't know enough about it, but I know that there's also a way to use it with MMTY, to use it for keying RTTY with it as well. But I haven't gotten into that in any way, shape, or form. I've read a little bit, but I haven't tried it yet.
And then N1JUR says our club's CW station used that, made it easy for them swap back and forth, and some of the old timers used it for the straight keys. So yeah, it's a pretty cool device. All right, thanks, Brian. And any comments or questions from the rest of you co-hosts? We're good to go. All right, let me just go from left to right then. So next up is Frank, and this is according to my screen. So go ahead, Frank.
What is up? I am getting ready to do my ham shack build. And one thing I will be needing to do is drive a lot of lightning rods, grounding rods, I misspoke, grounding rods into the ground. And I was hoping that someone in our chat could figure out how to do that, or on the panel here, to do that nicely without, using one of those post hole drivers or a hammer and hammer that into the ground. So a little background though here. If you're unfamiliar with Texas, we have a lot of clay and other hard stuff in our ground that makes it very impossible to dig holes and other stuff. So I want something that just drive these things hopefully into the ground with just to do it, other than me slamming it with a post hole digger and doing that for like 4 days straight.
I vote for a backhoe.
Backhoe.
Yeah, I vote for a pile driver.
You can actually rent a tool that goes on top of the rod, and it's like a huge hammer drill almost. And when you pull the trigger on it, it'll just hammer down and put it down into the ground.
I'm gonna go with rotary hammer. And Charlie, if I could have the screen for a minute, I will share something.
You should be able to. By the way, we got Scott here. He came a little bit late, but thank you for joining us, Scott. And welcome aboard. Brian, you're not able to present?
I'm working on it. Stand by.
All right.
Stand by.
Yeah.
So, are we sharing? Yes.
There it is.
That's what you need, Frank, right there. So you go to Home
$15.
Depot, you rent yourself the rotary hammer from the Home Depot tool department. You buy one of these for $15.
And what is this for the audio listeners? It's one piece.
This is for driving ground rods, rebar into the ground. It fits in the end of a rotary hammer, nice Makita rotary hammer that you can rent for usually about $60 for the day, or for less for about 4 hours. And Arizona, we have concrete basically for soil as well. I drove 8 ground rods with my buddy's rotary hammer and this tool in 30 minutes.
There you
go. Yeah.
It took longer to drag the extension cord around the property because Charlie and Dan have been to here to the super station, and I always say that tongue in cheek because I'm really not. But what is the definition? Nobody can find that for me, so I've decided I am a super station. So they've both been to the super station, and I've got roughly 325 feet of number 6 copper wire running underneath the ground in my yard to have everything bonded together properly for the station. There's a daisy chain of 4 ground rods by the tower, 1 by the vertical, 1 by the VHF vertical, 2 outside of the shack, 1 by the well pump, and then another one right by where another spot in the property where everything ties into. And we were able to do all of them. I think only one of them we couldn't get it down the full 8 feet, so we cut a foot off the top because it just wasn't going. We finally had a rock or something at 7
like a true ham.
So we just cut the last little bit off because it wasn't going. No matter what we did, it wasn't going.
That is the kind of the plan, or the reason why I'm doing this. My antenna and everything coming into the house is on the complete opposite side of the house ground. So I need to bond my antenna grounds and my radio grounds. For lightning, I'm going to have the one on top of the house go straight to the ground, and that puts it on the other side of the house. So I got to transverse the whole house, and I'm going to be driving grounding rods every 8 to 10 feet to have the electrical ground be nice. Maybe a little more. I need to look up that math, but I'll be needing to do about 5 to maybe more of these. And then once I get my HF antenna, I'm going to put another 1 or 2 at the base of the HF antenna also. I wanted something to do this, and I did not even know how to even start searching for this. But this looks amazing. I'm seeing $20 to $50 on these. Looking at from the chat, Andrew said Reddy's driver, grounding rod driver. And they sell them on Amazon and a couple other places. I'll be really looking into these because this needs to make my life easier. This will make my life easier.
Yeah, cool. I don't have any need for them right now. I have no ground rods except for what's already existing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll give you a quick look at what I had to do here. So I got an aerial view of my house up. I'm going to go ahead and share again. And
It's
so I'm going to show you here on my map because you can see. Can you guys see my pointer?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here is where the pointer is right now. That's where my breaker panel is. The wire runs underneath my driveway to here, around the house. Shack is right here, down the side, over to here. Tower's here, underneath here, vertical's here. So that's how much copper wire is running around my house. That's
you took the long
way
around.
That's an acre and a tenth of property. Eventually, it's going to go all the way around because the wife's got a ham shack down here. So we're gonna loop it all the way around and tie it into her shack eventually. Hers is still a work in progress. So once we get hers tied in, then we'll have everything will be tied together, be one big giant loop.
Awesome.
So there's more ground rods to drive. I just fortunate enough to have a friend that's a general contractor that does that for a living. So I just call up and say, Mike, on the way home, I need to drive some ground rods, and he'll stop by and we'll drive some ground rods.
Nice. Yeah. I'm just going to go to Home Depot and rent the tool, but I will be buying this bit because I can see us using it a lot in the ham shack stuff. Yeah. Let me pull up maps. I'll show you what I'm kind of looking at. Bloop, bloop. And layers, satellite. No, that's not satellite. That's terrain. Satellite. Now, if I was a good streamer, I would already have this up by now.
So there's a question while you're getting that up.
Go for it.
Andrew N1YLO. He's participating a lot in chat, so thank you, Andrew. He asks you and Brian mostly, are you guys using flat or round ground wire?
I'm using solid number 6 copper wire. So round, solid number 6 copper wire. Eventually, the next phase of the whole grounding process for me, mainly when the new tower goes up, is I'm going to CAD weld everything. Right now I'm using acorns, but the everything will get CAD welded at the end, so that'll be the next and probably final upgrade to the ground system after that. Fortunately, we don't have really. I mean, we had it maybe a month or two out of the year to all together for lightning. It's not like Texas there where you guys, every day you get some kind of lightning activity.
Hey, in the wet season, May, it's like every night.
Yeah. So we don't have quite as much of a problem. And knock on wood, haven't had any issues yet. I mean, I'm in the location in the valley where if the monsoon's going to hit, it's going to hit here, and it's usually going to take, roofs off of houses and things.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, knock on wood, been pretty fortunate. I put all this investment into my grounding system when I decided I was going to step up to a big Blair radio, and I bought the 890, was it 2 years ago? So all this was done prior to buying the 890 because I figured if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a radio, I really should make sure that the antenna system and everything else is worthy of it.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Frank? Do you have any wire yet that you're using, the flat or the round, or do you know yet?
I'm probably gonna use round, but we'll see. I haven't bought that yet, so that's still kind of in the air. But this is my house here. I'm gonna put a UHF VHF antenna on top of my house and on my chimney. So that's going to get it already 25 feet in the air. Then I'm going to put a 6 to 10 foot pole on top of that and slap the antenna on that. And that's going to be, of course, grounded to the base of the chimney here. But my electrical input is right here on the house, literally catty-cornered. So I'm going to have to measure and run this out all the way around and bond it here to the house. I'm thinking my once I get a HF antenna is going to be on this fence line, and I'm just going to run it up and down the fence line and have it at counterpoints on the fence line.
Very good. Well, so you got to do it. It's I understand it really brings the noise floor down, and it also protects you from the lightning somewhat. I
Oh
guess.
yeah. Well, my stepdad has a UHF VHF antenna in the trees behind his house. I don't think it sticks up too far on the trees, and got a near lightning strike that blew his polyphase lightning arrestor. So he needs to fix that. But that worked. No RF came into the house or his ham shack.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
looking here. I got a picture somewhere of my ground set up right outside of the shack here. I'll see if I can find it. But keep going, Charlie. When I find it, I'll just jump in.
All right. Yeah. So let's wrap this up, and I'm looking at the time here. So let's finish
That's-
this up. And
That's
oh, you
all
did?
I got. Thank you. This ground bit is perfect on what I was looking for.
Okay, cool. We'll go. So next will be Dan, and then we'll go back around to Brian, and then we'll end with Scott. That's kind of how it is on my screen. So thank you for that to Frank and Brian for Scott for your thoughts on that. I don't think anytime in the near future I'm going to be doing it, but there's people who have the superstation, and it's good to do.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw my recent video, but I ended up taking all my grounding off. I'm running a safety ground inside the shack because now when a storm is even hinted within 100 miles of my house, I unplug everything.
Yeah. That's what I do, is I unplug everything. The problem is that I worry about the arcing. So I unplug it, and it's like, this far from the radio, and I'm like, I don't know if that's good.
Lightning does what it wants.
Yep.
Dan.
Well, you can always take and just cut that end right off, Charlie, and increase that distance and just glue it back on later.
Yeah. All right, Dan, what did you bring to the table today?
Helpful tips?
Okay.
Yes.
No. So I've been kind of working for a while now on some projects. So primarily working on some Python projects. So I've been trying to learn that for a while now. I use it at work. So I'm kind of migrating some of that into the ham shack a little bit. And right now I'm working on playing with some pies and some GPS stuff. And so I'm
What are you
planning
doing
on
there?
getting, well, just playing with it for right now, trying to just figure out what I want to do with it in the future. See, automated logging or any of those kind of things for grid chasing and stuff might be kind of fun to do with it. So kind of just exploring what the possibilities are, as far as how well I can figure out where I'm at and do some logging with it. So starting that off, and then I'm kind of deciding what I'm going to do on top of that. So I've been playing around with some arms for a while now, and matter of fact, I'm starting to play with C for arms. So kind of thinking about transitioning some of that software over to the ugly world of C, and maybe try and port it over there. So just
I
for
love
fun,
C,
because
man.
I love to torture myself. So I figured,
Just
I haven't
upgrade to
used
C++.
it. Yeah, I haven't used it since college, so I figured I might as well go back and torture myself. So
Where's Don? He will have
Yeah.
lovely words for you. Reach out to him. He might be able to help you.
Frank, you're a
Yeah.
programmer too, though.
Yes,
So
I am.
And then Dan's a network engineer.
yes, a network engineer who has access to programming tools. So I am just crazy dangerous anymore. So
Cool.
that's
All right.
kind of what I'm up to. So other than buying new gadgets for the ham shack as far as test gear, so kind of been playing around with that a little bit too. Finally found a LCR meter that I wanted that wasn't the $2,800
What is it, a
bench
kit?
ones. No, this is a BK Precision 880 LCR
see it.
meter. So
Oh, that's that
It,
LCR meter. Oh, cool.
yeah. So so far I've had good luck with it's quite accurate. It's pretty close to bench meter grade, so I'm pretty happy with it. And it was significantly less than
Now, how much was it?
uh,
If you don't mind.
I think it was about $480, if I remember
Okay.
correctly. So significantly less than buying, something in the $2,300 to $2,800 range.
Yeah. Have you used it in any projects yet?
I have not. So I'd like to take and build some toroids and a few other things and see how it does with them. So that's kind of something that I'd like to try and get done on my bench this week. So,
I
but
would
I'm
love to
kind
do
of
that.
debating what kind of copper wire I want. So I'm thinking about buying some of the square wire and see what the differences are building toroids with that versus the traditional round, as far as being able to hug the toroid and see what the difference is.
Yeah, I would love to have one of those devices myself. I think that you could really educate yourself with the behavior of toroids and the different mixes of the cores and the different wires and turns and all that. You could spend just an eternity on that alone if you have that device. That's a really really good buy, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about is, what are the differences, and yeah, and kind of see for myself the differences, not only with an LCR meter, but also performance wise, whether it's on the scope or spectrum analyzer, see take the test tools, do some comparisons, see what works best.
Yeah. Cool. All
That's
right.
it on my desk.
All right. All right. It doesn't look like there's any comments in the chat yet on you, so let's just move on to Brian.
So, for me, I wasn't sure what to talk about today. And I was kind of, one of the questions I get is how do you jump from one place to another so fast? How do you, with your soda, one day you're here, one day you're there. How do you do that? And one of the things I was going to say is I'll start with a little joke. How do you know if somebody's a pilot? Anybody?
Yeah, they think they know everything.
Well, don't worry. They'll tell you.
See, I knew it.
Yeah. If you want to know somebody's a pilot, don't worry, they'll tell you. You don't have to ask them. So anyway, for those that don't know, I'm a pilot by profession. That's what I do. That's what pays the bills and keeps the wheels turning. And Charlie's been chased by me in an airplane. We've done Aeronautical Mobile. If you go back through some of the videos, you'll get to hear him talking to me as I'm flying over the top of him at 300 knots going up Flagstaff.
I've been tortured by the presence of a pilot. Yes.
Yeah. So here we go. Here's the here's the let's see. Why is it? We want to share that window there. Okay. So why is nothing showing up there, Charlie? There it is. Okay, I got it now. So that's the ride right there. So if you that's what takes me to and from work, and that's what I go around the state. And so for me, one day I could be in Payson, or next day in Prescott, which is they're not too far apart, but there's days where I'm up in the northeast part of the state and then I'm down in the southeast part of the state, and that's what takes me all over the place. And for years, I flew for another company that's slightly bigger model called the King Air 350. That's a King Air 200. It's a twin-engine turboprop, and the 350s took me all over the country. So I was actually fortunate enough to be able to activate in a lot of different places. I've actually activated in Texas, One Peak, Possum Kingdom Lake. There's a mountain, a summit over there with a transmitter on top of it, and you can, at least when I did it, you could get up to it. I've heard different stories since then. And this airplane's a whole lot of fun. I've done, have had the privilege of doing oceanic flights in 737s to Hawaii, and I've done HF out over the water. I've actually done some aeronautical mobile in the plane. In fact, let's see, we'll show you what the cockpit of the 737 looks like for those that don't know. Let's bring that back over here. Another picture, another screen to share screen. Yes. Window, that one, boom. So that should come up in a second here. There we go. Okay, so where my pointer is right here, I got to remember, I got to point at the right picture. So right over here where that's circling around, that's the radio tuning units in the plane. And that lower one that I'm pointing at right there, that is the HF radio. And it, in the tail of the airplane, embedded in the tail, there's two HF antennas in there with two remote antenna tuners, and depending upon the frequency you load it on, they're there's a lot of loading going on back there. There could be a lot of arcing too. So lots of cautions about not doing radio tests on the ground while you're fueling or while people are loading bags. About you can have a energy at the bottom. So you when you actually bring the radio up, you key it, you hear a carrier, it tunes the antenna remote antenna tuner that's mounted at the back of the radio does its thing, and then you start talking. When you're doing a transoceanic trip and you're actually going to be doing oceanic comms, nowadays HF is a backup. You're really not using it. You're using satellite comms and this thing called CPDLC, which is essentially like text messaging for airplanes. And a lot of the tracking and stuff is occurring over that. So air traffic control communicates with you via that rather than the radio. If that should fail, then you're using HF. And HF in aircraft is upper sideband. The minimum usable frequencies are actually predicted just like we have. And there's a service called, I'm going to, let's see, let me just share the screen again. So let me just look at one thing here quick. And I'll show you what we're talking about.
Yeah, while you're doing that, N1JUR says we'll have to put W7JT in the ham alert for an aeronautical mobile contact. You're not doing coast to coast stuff anymore right now, are you?
Well, so I'm not doing HF aeronautical, but I do VHF, and I have done it across in the country where I've been by myself. And I have for my HT, I have a throat mic and an earbud, and I'll stick that in my ear, and I can actually talk, and you won't even know I'm in the plane. You don't hear any background noise at all. This is a great job, and I've done aeronautical mobile over the Midwest on 14652 and had pileups, and it's kind of fun because with FM, obviously you have the capture effect, so it's interesting to listen to because you'll have this pileup going on. They can't hear each other because I might be hearing guys in Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, all these places that I'm flying over the middle of the country, and depending upon who's winning the capture effect, is who ends up coming through. So I end up doing it like a de-expedition. Okay, stations in 9, stations in Western Kansas, stations in Eastern Kansas, and I kind of work my way through it, or pick a major city that they're around to get my way through the whole pile up. And it's a good time. I'll run APRS too. If you go back through APRS.fi and look up W7JT-13, I think is what I beaconed as, you can find APRS tracks of me flying across the country in the King Air with the altitude information and stuff. So
Quick
back, go ahead.
Question. You say
Sure.
capture effect. Is that similar to Doppler or what?
No, so with FM, when you're using an FM radio, the receiver in the FM radio will kind of, and I'm not going to explain this well, so I'm just going to try to explain it in the simplest way possible. The way the receiver works in the radio, it kind of goes, okay, two signals button up against each other. It's not like sideband or AM where they'll just keep happening. All of a sudden, the receiver and the filtering and everything in the radio goes, okay, you win, and the other signal just goes away.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
So that's what's happening. That happens on the ground. If you've ever been driving around in your car listening to FM radio and you're driving between stations and you'll hear the two of them collide and then all of a sudden the other one goes away, that's what capture effect is. So that happens, and it happens a lot because I'm way up in the sky and all these signals are coming in all at once, and everybody's doubling with each other, and then finally the capture effect will kick in for a little bit. But I'm moving at 3 miles a second, depending upon my speed. And that changes quickly. I don't have to worry about Doppler effect because I'm not tumbling. I'm going in a straight line. Thankfully, if I'm tumbling, I assure you I'm not doing an aeronautical mobile at that point. So the Doppler effect really doesn't kick in for me at all. But
there will be a little bit, but I think the FM signal might help you out on that because you're moving.
Yes.
And just the point of you're transmitting and moving, there is some Doppler going on.
So what I was bringing up here now, so if you look at the screen in front of you, this is AirInc, which is a private company that's contracted with the FAA for oceanic communications, and they have HF stations set up. One is located in San Francisco, and that covers the West Coast. And if you look, you can see the different routes, the tracks, and then the primary and the secondary frequencies. And those, the way they assign those generally, which hams would understand this, and if you're not a ham, when you fly, you don't quite understand it. The time of day based on what's going to make the most sense, so that you can look at the frequencies. The higher frequencies are going to be used, toward the afternoon, evening hours, and the lower frequencies are going to be used daytime, nighttime, or daytime hours, early and mid morning, that sort of thing. And you'll go through, and when you get it, at least in the airline world, you get a document called a release, which has all the pertinent information for the flight that you need. And on that release, when you're doing an oceanic flight, it'll give you the minimum and maximum frequencies that they're going to use. And generally what we'll do before we leave on a trip is we will actually call the AirInc office and say, hi, this is Brian on flight 123. I'm going to be going LA to Kona, and this is the flight number. Can you tell me what frequency we should be using as our primary and which is our secondary? And I'll confirm that the information that they gave me, because sometimes stuff changes and it doesn't update. You'll put those frequencies in, then we do a quick comm check with them. And then once we get up in the air, right after we get handed off from the VHF controller, the local center, and we get handed over to Oceanic. We sign off with them, we check in with Oceanic on HF, and then we're done. We don't talk to them on HF again unless something goes wrong with the CPDLC system, which, like I said, for a lack of a better description, is basically airplane instant messaging. It uses the same, at least the ACARS uses the similar language protocol as APRS does. And correct me, I'm not 100% sure on this. I've been told, and I was trying to find it before we went on, but I couldn't. I believe that the same person that came up with APRS was involved in the creation of the ACARS system.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's neat. ACARS is a little, when you compare it to what's out there, it's actually fairly old, but it's still quite heavily used.
That's really cool information.
That's
cool.
So that's a little bit about the flying stuff. Not 100% ham radio, but definitely all radio.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot, and so having been in aviation and ham radio pretty much, continuously throughout the entire time, there's a lot of ham radio people that are really interested in aviation, and there's a surprising number of pilots that are ham radio operators. So there you go.
Yeah,
cool. That's good stuff. Any follow-up questions from the hosts or from the chat room? Let us know. While Scott prepares his whatever he has today.
Well, you kind of caught me a little off guard. I first want to apologize for my tardiness. I apparently had a senior moment. We had a lot going on around here today. And
That happens.
I was looking at the clocks like 6 o'clock. Where am I supposed to be? Ran upstairs, fired up the computer. One of the things I'm trying to work on right now, I've been kind of a prisoner in my own home since my car accident back in March. And it's really limited what I could do as far as mobility to get more stuff done and, produce more videos and things like that. But I've been doing a lot of research. And one of the things I really want to get into right now is satellite contacts, whether that be linear or just FM. And I think for right now, with the limitations on equipment that I have access to, I think FM satellites would probably be my big thing. And I've got the antenna for it. Just got to go out there and give it a shot. The other thing is I've got a neighbor here in town or in the neighborhood here, about 6 doors down, that has a massive solar array on his roof, and it's causing a lot of RFI. I did approach them about a year ago with a packet on how to get that resolved and what the problem was and needs to get taken care of. And, if you have any questions, reach out. I think that they're under the impression that meeting was optional. And yeah, I think it might be time to get a little more heavy-handed about it, because it's prevented me from using anything. I got a very nice ham shack downstairs that I can only do FT8 on, or I can use, certain frequencies at night.
So much noise.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's really horrible. And that might only be the first problem. Once I solve their RFI issue, then I got to go search around the neighborhood and see if there's any transformers or other things causing problems, and then attack them one by one. But that's the biggest elephant in the room at the moment.
How are you doing that? Tracking everything down? Do you know, or are you not even onto that point yet?
I can't until I get their solar array fixed, or they get that repaired by whoever installed and get the RFI under control. I can't even begin to start seeking out anything else. They might stop with them. It might be completely, at the end with them. But if not, then I'll start seeking out the next thing. I've got some different ways of doing that. I mean, I basically walked around my neighborhood just to even find them with my Yagi antenna and my my FT3DR on 40 meters, and just walked around, just followed the static, and let me right to their front door.
Yes. Yeah. That's.
Oh,
I have
man.
something going on in my neighborhood too. So I just. I guess I'm not as motivated as you yet.
I get it in daylight hours on 40 meters, and Charlie makes sure that when he's operating a summit, he sets right up on the frequency where the birdie is, so I can't work.
7.035. That's exactly where he doesn't want me to be. That's always where I am.
I had a neighbor talking about doing solar, and he's also a ham radio operator. And I explained, like, you need to be very careful when you're picking your converters for the solar, or not converter, but your equipment for your solar. And I explained what can happen and everything. He's like, "Oh man, how do you look at it?" I was like, just when you talk to these companies, ask them what equipment they're installing, and then just search for it. And you search for RFI and ham radio, blah blah blah, and it'll come up in your search. I don't know which equipment's better than others, but when you're installing this stuff, because a lot of us ham radio operators are interested in doing a lot of solar. It's just those solar chargers. You just need to be careful with them because a lot of them are noisy, and then you got inverters coming back in the house, which will also be noisy too. So you just need to be careful selecting that equipment.
Yep. My inverter is what it was for me. I'm like, what is that noise? I like these neighbors of mine, because surely it's not mine. And then one day I actually turned my inverter off, and I'm like, and I was only, you have to have the radio on and turn the inverter off to know what's going on, because I couldn't figure it out. And it was me. It was my own interference.
Well, that's easy to correct then.
It was.
Yeah. See, when I was first seeking out the RFI in my house, we turned off everything in the house, had the radio running on battery, and my wife was out there, and I just turned one breaker on at a time and make sure there's nothing on in my house. So the RFI wasn't coming from here. So that was one good thing, which led me to the search for the next one. But as far as solar panel installation companies, there's only like 2 or 3 out in the country that actually do them. And I identified from talking to the lady, the homeowner, that the one they have is, I guess Elon Musk, his brother, has a solar company or solar panel company, something like that. So that's one they've got. But the installation company that came out to do the actual work just threw it up there and did not pay attention to the RFI issues they were probably going to be caused by putting that stuff up there. And a lot of companies do that. It's just they don't know about it, or they don't care.
Yeah,
I think they don't care.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, we're just gonna hope that nobody in the neighborhood complains, and then if they do, we'll deal with it. Because if we get rid of it, if we get away with it 90% of the time, where our margin is much higher, so we'll risk it.
Saving a lot of money.
Yeah, because the bottom line is, until somebody complains, and most people don't know.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't. I mean, here's an example. I drive down University, and at a certain point, I pass a church and if I have my ham radio on, and I'm hearing somebody talk, and then all of a sudden I hear, zzz. I think that their sign has RFI. It's not something that I'll ever, and it doesn't bother me enough to where I'm gonna report them or anything like that. But it's just another example of one of the things that they have this big huge LED sign, right? And it's always when I go by that church, so I know it has to be that or something else similar. It might be the transformer on the telephone pole, but I think that's the closest thing that I've been able to figure out. But am I going to stop and knock on their door and say, "Hey, you got RFI"? That's kind of a jerky thing to do, because it doesn't really affect me that much, really. I mean,
The answer is yes.
Just
Meet that ham guy.
Hi.
Yeah.
If it's not
Be that dude.
If it's not
Videotape
if it's not affecting your operation, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it is,
Right.
you sneak over and slap some toroids on it.
That's the thing. If it's something, if it's something, seriously though, if it is something that affects your operation, then you've got to do something about it. You've really got to take steps. And so I applaud you, Scott, for putting forth the effort.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Hey Charlie, I found that picture of the ground point outside for Frank. So let me throw that up here.
Yeah, let me throw it up here. Hold on just a minute. So yeah, it dropped out. So put it back up here. So Scott, are you done, Scott? Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good at the moment.
Okay, so let's just do some wrap up here with Brian's thing, and then if you guys have any other questions, and we'll take a few more comments from the chat room, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, so that's all the coax right there going to the DX Engineering polyphaser plate that's connected to a ground rod, and then the original station ground rod is next to it, so they're tied together. You got the 220, the APRS antenna. This is HF, and this is VHF, UHF, and this is the EWE antenna, which is both. It's just a bidirectional receive antenna. So I've got that, and that's what these are, RG6 cables, and that's all comes into the one spot, and then eventually goes into the shack. So that's where everything
Cool.
cable wise grounds before it comes inside.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything like that.
Looks complicated.
It's I think altogether I've probably got about $400 into the ground system all
Wow.
by itself, about $400 altogether.
There you go,
Hey,
Frank.
man.
Things to come.
Well, that's going to be kind of what my HF ground is going to look like when it right off the antenna. The things on the side of the house, I'm going to have a grounding installation box that I'm going to put up there, and
Mhm.
all this stuff is going to be put inside and nicely set up. Going to have two of those boxes, one at the high end, and then one at the lower end for the HF. So the UHF, VHF, there would be a box and a secondary box for HF down at the ground level.
Yeah, I have another homebrew box with MLIs in it down by the tower, and that's where the control cable for the remote coax switch and the rotor control cable goes through, and that stuff is also grounded down there and connected into the system. But since it's got DC voltage going through it, I have MLIs on that as opposed to gas discharge tubes, and those particular cables that you see there, the HF antenna, that actually has a DC pass on it as opposed to a DC projected. For those that don't know the difference, when you buy a polyphaser, if you're sending power down the coax, you have to have a DC pass polyphaser. If you're using a DC reject, it will eventually burn out and it will fail because it's not designed to have DC voltage going through it. So it's very important to make sure you're using a DC pass polyphaser if you're going to run power down the coax. If you're not going to run power down the coax, no big deal. But if you're going to run power down the coax for remote antenna tuner or a remote coax switch or anything else that might need power, and you're going to use it through power injection, you have to use a DC pass polyphaser.
Great advice. A quick question from the chat here. November 1, JUR Ham Radios asking, what about weatherproofing?
Well, for me, it's fairly dry. I have one of those fake rocks that goes over the top of that. That picture was taken without the fake rock over the top of it.
That works. That works well.
Yeah, we're pretty dry here in Arizona. It's desert. Yeah,
Yeah.
he also says that that wouldn't make it one New England winter here.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. All right, guys. Well, we got 7 minutes. Let's go through some of the comments that I missed. Let me just scroll up here. One of them I wanted to bring up was WA7JNJ says, one of my summit highlights was listening to a 767 in New York make contact with a 50-year-old ham in California. It was the ham's first aeronautical QSO, and great to hear excitement in his voice.
That's awesome.
Those are awesome. I always appreciated the making people's day doing the aeronautical mobile stuff. It's a really good time. And when I was doing stuff with the airline, it was cool because sometimes the guys I was with had no idea that was even possible, and we're doing aeronautical mobile. And we worked a guy. I was over Southern California, and we were talking to Argentina on 20 meters from the airplane. He thought that was amazing.
Hey Charlie, just one quick thing since he had popped up. W7J&J also did a really nice video on the Oregon campout. So if you get an opportunity to check that out, it's well worth the watch.
Yeah, he did. He actually posted a bunch of stuff on social media as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So, but he kind of made a big conglomeration, and it's an excellent video.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Let me see if I can bring it up here real quick. Is there any other comments we have while I'm doing that?
While you're bringing that up, I just threw in the chat, Scott, if you want to go and look at my satellite adventure playlist. It takes you through some of the theory on activating satellites, talks to you about Doppler effect and things to look for and how I built my satellite setup.
Yeah,
So
I just clicked on that. I'm gonna end up probably watching those.
yeah,
Taking notes.
it's great. I sat down with a paint and pad, and I explained Doppler effect and programs I used at the time to find satellites and things.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Charlie. Looks like you're ready.
Yeah, so let me grab that up here again. So, yeah, so his looks like let me just go to his YouTube channel here and take a look at it. So here he is. I have him muted right now, but his channel is just WA7JNJ. He said this was his first camp out, soda camp out. It's the second annual one for W70, and I think I might head up there next year and join everybody because I have not done a soda activation in Washington. So, but let me just show you. Here's some drone footage of how there was a big group there, and then he just
Wow.
kind of up here. He just kind of shows different people. This is a couple. Can't remember their names. They're just doing a VHF on the top of a huge summit, and just look at that view. Just obvious
Yeah,
fun
there's
time
some
there.
spectacular views
Yep.
of was it Crater Lake and stuff. So
Yeah, let's see if I can find the Crater Lake one. That one's pretty cool, right there.
yeah, there you go. It's just
The
absolutely
Crater Lake behind
spectacular.
him.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's on my bucket list.
yeah.
I gotta drive 1,000 miles west to even get close to something like that.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. Well, so let's wrap it up here. I guess we've got 3.5 minutes, so let's take it. Go ahead and go around and just whatever you guys have going on with your channel. If you have a channel, if you don't have a channel, just kind of what's going on social media or just in general. What just any parting thoughts you have. Let's start with Scott.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Scott. My call sign's KI5MPL, and I run Ham Radio for Non-Techies. You can find me at hamradiofornontechies.com. And next couple videos coming up is since I now have a new vehicle, I'm going to be installing and setting up my mobile ham shack in my new truck, and hopefully getting out into doing some more POTA. And I got some really cool antenna stuff to show you guys. So that'll be forthcoming here pretty soon.
Rock
Okay,
on,
cool.
man. I am so
And,
happy
Frank?
for that. I'm so happy, Scott, you got a car. I'm so happy that you're recovering from all that and get backing up on your feet. I'm Tank Radio. I am on YouTube. I'm on any podcaster app that you can think of. So search for Tank Radio. I'm back from my trip and I'm going to be recording some awesome things coming down the pipe, and most notably my shack build once the 100-degree weather stops being 100 degrees. But I'm working on that, and I'll probably do some POTAs. The last, I think, big stream I did, I did a live stream POTA. It was my 1,000 contact activation, and that was fun. I really did enjoy that. So just search Tank Radio on YouTube or any other podcaster app, and that's all I got, man. Thanks for hosting, Charlie.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you as well. So, Red Summit RF, obviously, you guys are here at the channel. I will be doing some more. I try to do one short a day. I've with vacation, I've missed a couple weeks actually, but I'll be resuming trying to hit that goal of one short a day, as well as I have still in the can 3 or 4 videos. There's one on a VHF radio that I use. There's one on an activation, a POTA activation, and then there's still one on the repeater stuff that I recorded with Touge, a friend of mine and Brian's, that I'll be putting up at some point. So come on back and check those out. Of course, we have Rex Harper. You guys, I don't know if you know who Rex Harper is, but you should. He's the guy that makes the kits, the tuna tin or tuna can kits.
Yeah.
And he does every year. He does the build-a-thon at the Hamvention, and he does other build-a-thons as well. But he has it's QRP Me is his website. Well, he's going to be our guest next week. Hopefully, I haven't heard back from him in a while, but hopefully he still remembers, and we'll have him on, and so that'll be a good time with him. So, all right, let's go back over and see what Dan's been up to or what he has coming up.
Well, we're gonna have a cold snap here in Arizona, so I'm thinking on Thursday maybe we'll hit a mountain and participate in a little soda activity. Let's see. Typically, people don't miss my videos because I usually don't produce any, but you never know. Maybe I'll actually produce one for a change and put that up there. So Yeah, let's plan on having some fun on Thursday.
Cool. Sounds good. Brian?
Well, let's see. I got a full week this week. I'm actually flying every day, which is lately has been unusual. So, but none of the places I'm going to are soda. So if I do soda, it'll probably be local here in the Valley. Maybe a chance for that on either Wednesday morning or potentially Tuesday afternoon. Maybe Thursday if I get up early enough, I might go. But I gotta fly at 9 that day, so not sure if I'm going to do that or not. I don't have any new videos coming up unless I go hiking with Charlie, because generally the only time I put up any videos on the internet is when I am one of Charlie's sidekicks and ride his coattails. And Charlie does all the work, puts the video up, and I just get to sit there and watch it and take full credit for it because the videos are generally better when I'm in them. So,
Spoken like a true pilot.
yes. So anyway, all kidding aside, that's all I got going on for me right now. Just normal ham radio, normal life.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, stick around after we go end the live so we can just kind of wrap things up. But that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, next week is my live stream. The following week is Frank's live stream and so forth. And then it will be the 5th Sunday. We'll be on Frank's live stream.
Next
and then
one. Yep.
right after this, I don't see on the Ham Radio 2.0, I don't see...
I don't think he's streaming. He just texted me a minute ago saying it's not going to happen.
Okay, well,
So-
all right then. Well, so I guess we're not in a big hurry to end, but we've already wrapped it up, so we'll call it good. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll say 73 and sign off.
Bye.
Bye.